In any normal election, the Midland seat of Birmingham Edgbaston would be a key bellwether, a predictor of the national result in Britain's general election. This leafy suburb was once a solid Conservative seat held by Neville Chamberlain, Britain's pre-war Prime Minister. But as the city sprawled during the middle of the last century, high-rise social housing began to sprout in unlikely areas, bringing with it a more mixed electorate and a way in for the Labour Party. In fact, between 1979 and 2010, this marginal constituency reflected the national result in every single vote. But last time around, while most of the rest of the country swung towards the Conservatives, the maverick Labour MP Gisela Stuart managed to increase her majority here. This time, senior Conservatives are confident they can turn such seats blue and defy predictions of a hung Parliament. Recent polls undertaken by Lord Ashcroft, the Tory peer and pollster, shows the rise of UKIP appears to have taken 10 percentage points away from his party here. At the same time, Ms Stuart has increased her share of the vote in the last 5 years from 41% up to 48%, an increase that seems to have come largely from departing Liberal Democrat voters. These two trends mean the gap now stands at around 20 points here in Edgbaston. But while that gap is large, it is also soft, and Tories believe they are still in with a good chance. She has been in Parliament for 20 years, but German-born Gisela Stuart is an early example of a new breed of Westminster politician. Fiercely independent, willing to defy her own leadership, and more loyal to her local voters than to her party hierarchy. And her win in 2010 earned her the title of Survivor of the Year from The Spectator magazine.
I think the longer you've been the MP and the incumbency, the less important the party leader and the national message is. If you're a first-time candidate of whatever party, you essentially are the local franchise of the national brand, and the leader and the manifesto is key because it's you on behalf of them. For people like me who probably haven't had the party leader on the election manifestos in the last 4 elections, and it's always been, you know, Team Gisela and it's Gisela in Edgbaston, that becomes less important.
In the first few years of this Parliament, Labour strategists believed that they had everything in place to make sure that they won a majority in 2015. Disaffected Liberal Democrat voters were coming over to their side, while Conservative voters were switching over to UKIP.
But those trends cover up a more worrying one for both major parties. Despite their efforts over the last 5 years, they have persuaded very few of the other parties' voters to switch sides. 4% of those who voted for either Labour or the Tories in 2010 have moved over to the other side. In comparison, 16% of Tory voters now intend to vote UKIP, while 14% of former Labour supporters have moved to an assortment of smaller parties. A suburban croquet club in a leafy part of town seems like the ideal place to find Conservative voters. And that is exactly what Cheryl Sapcope was at the last election, though she has previously voted Labour. But like many in this area and across Britain, Ms Sapcope is so unimpressed by both parties at this election, she's planning to vote for the Greens for the first time.
I voted Conservative last time because I felt that Labour weren't delivering what I expected them to deliver. This time I'm going to vote Green, not because I think that we could have a Green Prime Minister, but I've become a bit worried about green issues in this country.
And while the polls show many Liberal Democrats are switching to Labour, those the FT spoke to seemed unenthusiastic about the prospect. While Burn FM, Birmingham University's student radio station, thrives on the exuberance of its youthful and committed DJs, Joe McDowell, the station manager and a politics student, seems less excited by the prospect of voting in a few months' time.
I've moved away from the Lib Dems because I don't believe they have a proper stance on anything anymore. I believe to a point they sold out to achieve an end, and I don't know what that end was, and I don't really know what they were achieving by being in office. With the Labour Party, I just have no faith in their leadership. I think Ed Miliband, while maybe economically sound, and while Ed Balls has a good economic track record as an advisor to Gordon Brown, I don't believe their management has the wherewithal to run this country.
In an election like this, where voters are uninspired by the leaderships of all major parties, the local campaign is crucial. Chris Hoare has lived on the Waterworks estate for 27 years and has seen MPs come and go, while he has personally set about regenerating the area.
So the residents, as I said, that's we had to do it. The other politicians, they never give you a straight answer. They always give you fudge. If you said today is Thursday, they'll say, well, maybe I'll do this and that, but they'll never say yes it is, or today is Wednesday or whatever. They'll never give you a straight answer. Whereas if you come to a stage like this and you say to me or to anybody else, oh, Chris, can you show us what you've done? Yeah, this is it. We'll tell you. This, you know, we don't fudge, we'll tell you.
This is David Cameron's idea of the big society in action, Mr Hoare says, and all he wants is a local MP who can help him continue it.
When I vote, what I look first of all, who is going to do what for my area? And it's the person who I think is going to do the most for this part of Edgbaston. They're the people who I'll vote for. There's a lot of politicians who say to change people's minds like mine, or to come to areas like this and say, what would you like us to do? It's that simple.
The Tories are conscious of this desire from many voters to focus on local issues, and so have taken the bold step of choosing 32-year-old GP Luke Evans as their candidate. He may not have fought an election before, but the Tories believe that as a doctor working in an Edgbaston surgery, he is best placed to reach the electorate in a way that other candidates can't.
Oh, I think this election is going to be different when we come to Edgbaston, mainly for the way in which the swing in the constituency itself has changed. People are looking for someone who's economically going to carry the can, which the Conservatives are doing, but they want a compassionate view, which is what I hope to bring. Nice to see you. You too. What I'm saying is, well, hang on. You know what a good GP looks like. You know what they can produce. I'd like to do that as a local MP, be good for the community, and that's why I think people may well actually think about changing over.
The problem for Mr Evans is that even though his opponent, Ms Stuart, was born 1,000 miles away in Bavaria, she has, over the last 20 years, become one of the most well-recognised and well-respected local MPs in the region. Her approach of throwing social events and holding activities which include little overtly political material means that many here think of her as being as permanent a local fixture as the Quimborne Community Centre, which has sat at the heart of this constituency for 76 years. Ms Stuart's broad brush approach to politics has won fans among those who regularly attend art classes here, such as Thelma Bowden.
It is basically a very conservative-looking area, but Gisela Stuart has been our Labour MP now for I can't remember how long. Gisela is very effective. She is often on the high street. You can talk to her on the high street on a Saturday, second Saturdays in the month, when we have the Harborne Farmers Market. She's there. She has a regular surgery, which anybody can go to, as do other MPs, of course. I think she's a very effective MP.
For Labour to win the general election in May, it needs to hold on to swing suburban seats like this one here in Edgbaston. Its best chance of doing so is to rely on a well-organised ground campaign led by popular MPs such as Ms Stuart, rather than on the popularity of their leader, Ed Miliband, which remains the lowest of any leader since the war. If, on the night of May the 7th, Labour has held on here, not only does it mean that the Tories are unlikely to have won a majority, it also means that local politics has trumped the national. Kiran Stacey, Financial Times, Edgbaston.